Howdy ho ho, my good humans. How the hell are you doing? This is Unnecessary Rambling. I'm Brandon Sylvia. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to talk about the state of play. So I literally just got finished watching the show, and overall, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was okay. Definitely not like the top tier state of plays that we've ever had. Whenever you look at the 2022 event that we had, Street Fighter 6 and Resident Evil 4 both revealed for the first time at that event. We definitely didn't get anything on that level here, but we got some cool trailers, some important updates, and a couple release dates that I was eager to find out about. So overall, definitely wouldn't say it was an awful showcase by any stretch of the imagination. I think for a grade, I would be somewhere around a C, like a flat C, maybe C+. But yeah, man, how about we go ahead and dive into this thing? I'm going to talk about my favorite reveals from the state of play. Not going to go through absolutely everything, but we'll cover a majority of what was shown off here and dive into it. So it kicked off with Helldivers 2, and it wasn't anything groundbreaking. I don't think that was going to be a trailer that got people in the door if they weren't already hyped up, ready to go, ready to dive into Helldivers 2. We saw some base building. We saw some explosive combat going on. There was like a little shot at the very end of the trailer where you had a mech kind of reveal itself, I guess, but nothing extraordinary, nothing over the top. Just a little update to let people know, hey, Helldivers 2 is coming very, very soon, and I think that sort of set the tempo for what we can expect for the rest of the show. Nothing over the top, nothing mind-blowing, but okay. A decent little update here and there. We then transition into Stellar Blade, and that finally got a release date, which is, like I was talking about, a very important date. This is one that I was curious about if it was going to hit early 2024, late 2024. What can we expect? April 26th. 2024 is when we will be playing Stellar Blade. Early 2024 is looking pretty goddamn loaded from PlayStation's second and third party partners. The one thing I'll say about Stellar Blade is in this trailer, I didn't think the combat looked as over the top and just kinetic, fun ass, adrenaline packed combat. It didn't have that same feel to me in this trailer compared to some of the other trailers we've seen before. It was cool, you saw like you got a new skill and you're able to double jump, so it's confirming that there are some upgrades and different ways you can kind of mold your character and new abilities that you can acquire and unlock throughout the game, which, that all fine, well and good. Some of the boss fights later on, I thought the actual design of the enemies, the design of the boss, specifically the boss encounters, looked badass, but the actual combat, I was just like, okay, I'm not quite sure if that's on that upper echelon of your character action games like Bayonetta, like Devil May Cry. You did see a little bit of third-person shooting going on in the trailer, which, if I'm not mistaken, that was the first time I remember seeing that for Stellar Blade. So I was like, okay, cool. So we have some insight into some different mechanics, the various ways that we're going to be able to craft our character, and kind of the different ways we'll be able to engage with this game. And I thought you got a few decent world shots, kind of giving you an understanding of the environments that you're going to be exploring throughout Stellar Blade. You actually, I felt a lot of Final Fantasy VII energy throughout this trailer, which that's great. It's a great benchmark, something great to strive towards, but it just felt tonally kind of disconnected from my expectations from the previous trailers that we got for Stellar Blade. And I think the VO might have had something to do with that as well. Just kind of thinking back, I think the narrator for this trailer that was kind of walking you through everything, it was just a very toned down, kind of soothing voice that was guiding you throughout the trailer. And whenever you're thinking of character action games, the bombastic nature of those games, you don't really put that voice or the style of music that was used, you really don't combine those things frequently. So I think that might have just threw me off. Absolutely no shade at the game whatsoever. I'm very eager to check that out. I will be there for sure on April 26th. I love this genre, the character action genre. I actually thought the character models throughout this trailer in Stellar Blade were much better than I ever really expected. And it seems like they actually do have a little bit of a story that they're trying to tell here, which for a character action game, that's not something that is on the top of the list of things that I'm really going in expecting. So just add a little bit of icing on the cake there. Absolutely. I'm there April 26th for Stellar Blade. We also saw Sonic Cross Shadows Generation. I'm not a Sonic guy whatsoever, but I will say this trailer looked pretty goddamn sick. The little 3D environments that you're going off and exploring, and you have those you're out in space seemingly, and just the visual effects on offer throughout this trailer were really goddamn impressive to me. This looked pretty fun. Once again, I'm not a Sonic guy personally, but I do know that Sonic Generations seems to be like the fan favorite from, the hardcore Sonic base. People really seem to love the OG Sonic Generations. So to have this, I guess, remake / slight reboot angle going on here, I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to keep my eye on that thing. And it's supposedly dropping this year. They're suggesting autumn 2024. So we'll see about old Sonic Cross Shadows Generation. So the next game I want to talk about, I don't really care about the game whatsoever. I don't think it looks good at all or interesting at all. That is Foam Stars. But I do want to talk about it from the perspective of I find it really interesting what's going on here with this Foam Stars versus Helldivers release duel, I guess you could call it, where Foam Stars is releasing February 6th. And then Helldivers 2 is releasing February 8th. Foam Stars is going to be on PlayStation Plus. And Helldivers, you got to buy a la carte. Just really interesting strategies from release date cadence to where the games are going to be available and how you're going to be able to play them. I don't know if this indicates in any way that Sony is more confident or less confident in one game or the other. I would imagine that there is going to be some crossover in those player bases with, third person, over-the-shoulder sort of live service style games, but obviously Helldivers is more catering to like the hardcore crowd, and Foam Stars is catering to more of a casual crowd seemingly. But I imagine that just there has to be some crossover there, and I don't know, I just find the strategy of that to be a bit bizarre in my opinion. So it's going to be interesting to see which of those two games does well, or if they both do well, or just how all of this works out with those two games dropping so close to one another and dropping in like different services. And I just find that whole situation fascinating. This next one I was really fucking hyped for, man. Dave the Diver coming to PlayStation alongside Godzilla in May. Dave the Diver Cross Godzilla dropping on PlayStation in May, and I think the base game for Dave the Diver is dropping in April. So you can get in there, mess around with the base game, and, wait a month, and then Godzilla will be sitting there waiting for you in the water. I'll likely, pun intended, dive into that. I wanted to play it last year. I think that is kind of the issue whenever these PC exclusive titles get their console port. I think Dave the Diver was on Switch if I'm not mistaken, but when these mostly PC exclusive games get their console port and it's like a year later, 2 years later, I sort of lose interest, because when it first drops and everybody's hype about it, talking about it, I'm like, oh damn, I'm curious to check that out, especially when I was in my groove with Dredge last year. I very much was intrigued even more when seeing Dave the Diver after really, really enjoying Dredge. So we'll see what the release schedule looks like throughout 2024. If May is open or if April is open and not a lot is dropping, new releases dropping in that month or in those months, I'll probably check out some Dave the Diver. And then we have a really interesting doubleheader going on here for our next two games. We have Silent Hill: The Short Message, which is available today. A first-person walking sim, tons of PT energy throughout this trailer. I felt a little bit of Silent Hill 3 energy in this trailer, which really piques my interest because that is my favorite of the Silent Hill games that I've played so far. It's obviously a much shorter game. It's free to play. You can go and download it now. I'm not expecting a ton from the game, but from a visual standpoint, it looked good. And they're partnering with a developer called Hexadrive, which is founded by an ex-Capcom developer. So the partnership I do find interesting. I went and looked through Hexadrive's Wikipedia and then, tried to scroll through their game list. There wasn't a lot available to see there, but I do find the partnership interesting, and I like this idea of Konami going off and finding these different partners for their various franchises. Because, I mean, if you're not going to do it internally, you know the hunger is there for these various franchises that you have on deck. Might as well license them out, get something out the door, and let the fans, have something to play. But jumping right off that, we also did have Silent Hill 2 pop up, which it is about damn time to see something on this game. It looks very faithful. It looks like a faithful recreation of Silent Hill 2. It looks much more budget compared to Resident Evil, especially in the combat department, which, I mean, Silent Hill games have never had great combat at all in the first place, so I'm not too bummed out about that, but it would have been nice to have something that was close to on par with the Resident Evil remakes, but I know, that is lofty fucking expectations. The big thing, though, with this game that I think it definitely surprised me, and I would imagine it surprised a lot of other people, no date. No date was given for Silent Hill 2, the remake, and everybody was assuming this is like Q1 2024. I'm now assuming this is probably Halloween. This is probably October, which I think is fine, with a game that is so beloved. I mean, this is one of the most beloved cult classic titles of all time. And you have to put it above cult classic. This did get its just due and respect when it released, and people love this game, so the expectations are very, very high, and Bloober has to deliver. So take your time. I'm happy to see some combat. Wasn't blown away by the combat, but I think what we saw there was good enough, I would assume. But I also do know the Silent Hill fan base can be a bit particular at times, so I don't know. Like I said, I'm jumping in here immediately after watching this, so I've seen no online reaction, I've seen no discourse about any of these games. I really don't know how people are feeling one way or the other about any of these titles, but I thought Silent Hill 2 looked fine. But talk about a game that looked a little bit better than fine. Let me introduce you to Judas, a real gameplay trailer of Judas, Ken Levine's new IP. This looks fucking fantastic. Obviously, creator of BioShock, and you see BioShock DNA all throughout this goddamn trailer. It just seems like he kind of wanted to go his separate ways, get his new team in formation and ready to go, and then yeah, it seems like this is our new BioShock game. This is BioShock 4, and just without the name attached to it. Unfortunately, no release date was given, and also no release year was given, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think the first trailer that we got for it said 2024, so not having 2024 in this one kind of makes me wonder. But once again, I am all for a delay to no need to rush it. We all got shit to play. Let's get out some high quality shit. It's been a while since BioShock fans had anything to eat, and it looks like you're going to be eating good with Judas. And jumping off there and staying in the first-person story-based game sphere, Metro Awakening is set to launch this year on PSVR 2, and this is the title that this platform needed. I don't know if it's going to be exclusive. I would imagine probably not. That team has to make their money back, which I guess, getting a bag from PlayStation, that might be the best way to make your money back in general in the VR space. But man, this looks fucking great. This looks incredible. Very reminiscent of how I felt when I first saw Half-Life Alyx. I feel very similar looking at Metro Awakening. And that's really the problem with that platform, in my opinion, is that, sure, Gran Turismo, sick. Resident Evil, sick. But you can play those games outside of VR. What is the thing selling me to pick up this headset? What is the software on offer selling me to pick up this headset? The must-play game. And listen, Metro VR, Metro Awakening, it's looking like that might entice me to think about grabbing some damn goggles. And then we had another funny doubleheader that I just sort of want to talk about combined with one another. We had Dragon's Dogma 2 and we had Rise of the Ronin back to back in this showcase. And same thing that's funny there is both games launch on the exact same day. It's almost like Sony is throwing these goddamn games into the ring with one another, and you're fighting to the death to see who comes out on top. Because you could say, okay, Foam Stars, Helldivers, those games are different enough, at least from a thematic level, they're different enough to stand on their own. Rise of the Ronin and Dragon's Dogma 2, I think you're gonna either buy one or the other. You know, third person, open-ish world, action-adventure games, like, they're very, very close if you compared them side by side. Dragon's Dogma 2, I will say, man, that trailer, goddamn, that game looks really, really good. The big-ass bosses that you're going up against. Like, I mean, you're literally jumping out of the way of a dragon as he's shooting goddamn flames at you. You're dodging his flame attacks in the air as you're launching down at him with your sword, and then particle effects are flying all over the place. You add some Shadow of the Colossus energy towards the end of the trailer where you're like climbing up a boss in this battle. That game just looks so boss battle centric and so over the top with its boss battles. Like, I'm really, really eager to check that out. But I will say, if we want to stay in this train of thought, throwing these damn games into the Royal Rumble, only one can head to WrestleMania. I have to say, Rise of the Ronin, this trailer did it for me, man. The last trailer that we got, I think, was at the Game Awards, and I was like, okay, it looked so, but this like extended look at Rise of the Ronin, I think we got 4 or 5 minutes of gameplay running of this thing, and that extended look did exactly what it needed to do for me for this game. This trailer had more Ghost of Tsushima energy than any game I've ever seen in my freaking life. You're seeing, changing the different combat stances on the fly. The moment, but it also, it didn't only look like Ghost of Tsushima, it was creating its own DNA as well. You saw the section in there where you got the flamethrower, you're taking out a group of enemies with this flamethrower. You got your grapple hook, you're grappling towards people, which, once again, some Ghost of Tsushima energy in there, but grappling towards enemies, taking them out. It looked quick, fluid, fast-paced. It didn't seem, sluggish and rolling around in heavy double-handed attacks. Like, you're moving. The third-person shooting still looks to be a little bit of an afterthought. It doesn't seem like there's any real mechanics on offer there for that aspect of the game. I think it's just like a quick, you probably press one button quick, pull it out as like a powerful attack. But as you're like roaming around the open world, you saw some destructibility taking place. There's some destruction physics on offer in Rise of the Ronin, which I don't remember seeing much of that before this trailer. I thought the idea of like gliding onto these different rooftops, just having your wing glider out and jumping down onto these different rooftops and kind of traversing between, from rooftop to rooftop. And I thought actually the different environments that were shown throughout Rise of the Ronin in this trailer looked much better than anything we'd saw before. I'm not saying it's a visual showpiece. It doesn't look like a game that you're going to put on when your friends come over just to wow them, blow their mind about the visual fidelity that is on offer with this current generation of consoles. But there were a few shots in there where you're like, damn, this don't look bad at all. And I think the thing that this trailer sold was fun. And that's where I was trying to find the fun in those other trailers. I see it here. I definitely see it here when they showed the variety of combat on offer. Like I said, with the different stances and the flamethrower, the different weapons, the destructibility. It's like, okay, I see what we got going here, and I'm very much on board for this. Before I saw this trailer, I would have picked up Dragon's Dogma 2 before Rise of the Ronin. Like if I, which you do have to choose. They're both dropping March 22nd. I'm picking one or the other. Which am I playing first? Which I'll buy both of them, but which am I playing first? And before this trailer, it would have been Dragon's Dogma 2, but I think I'm going Rise of the Ronin first now. So real good trailer. Very, very, very excited for this game. But moving on, we have something I'm not at all excited for. And that is the Until Dawn remake. And you guys know, I love Until Dawn. It's my favorite of the Supermassive games that they've released. The Quarry, I think, is really good, but Until Dawn would still be number one for me. I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was all the rumor about this Project Bates game that was coming from Ballistic Moon. And now it's been confirmed that no, Ballistic Moon was developing the Until Dawn remake. And for one, Until Dawn just doesn't need to be remade. When you see the characters, in this trailer, obviously have the B-roll going. When you see this trailer, you're like, yeah, the characters still look similar to when the game released in 2015. It was amazing looking back then. It's going to look amazing. It'll probably look a little bit better now, but it just didn't need the overhaul. This is directly marketing in line with the release of the movie. The Until Dawn movie is set to come out sometime, I think, next year, or I think 2025, 2026, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm assuming, same way with The Last of Us Part 1, when the show dropped, it's just kind of waiting in the wings there for people when they're like, oh, I want to go and let me check out the game. I really liked the show or the movie. Let me go check out the game. And it's like all this speculation of what this Project Bates game could be, a new third-person over-the-shoulder survival horror game. That's what a lot of the rumor was for this Ballistic Moon developed title. And to know now, unless they have two projects that they were working on simultaneously, but I don't think so. I think the rumor of the survival horror game developed by Ballistic Moon is this survival horror game, a remake of a game that doesn't need a remake of a game that you could still go back to today. And it looks absolutely stunning. And so yeah, that was just a bummer to me. With PlayStation, I feel like they really need some new IP on the horizon, and to be returning back to a game that's just like nobody in the world thinks it needs to be remade. It's like, yeah, that's a bummer. But boy, we close off with quite the bang. And you guys know, Death Stranding, not my favorite game in the world. Don't like it at all. Holy fucking shit, my friends. Death Stranding 2, that was a trailer. That was certainly a trailer. And I'm going to try to cut out a bunch of different, just cool ass parts of this trailer, because it's I think a 10-minute segment of this game. I'm going to try to just cut out a bunch of cool parts just to show off everything this trailer had to offer. I would definitely recommend, sitting down, watching the full 10-minute trailer and sort of digesting this thing, because there is a lot to take in here. And let's get the kind of negatives out the way first. It does look like you're going to be doing a lot of walking around again, a lot of delivering packages again, and those core gameplay mechanics seem to be transferring over as the same main pillars that are going to make up Death Stranding 2, the moment to moment. That seems to be what you're going to be doing in Death Stranding 2 as well. Boy, are you going to be walking around some beautiful ass environments throughout this game. There are certain moments in this trailer that, in terms of the world shots, in terms of the environment shots, that are unparalleled. That are just totally fucking unparalleled. Some of the sickest environment shots that I've ever seen, whether it's the walking on the sand, or the one where you're goddamn seemingly in space on the moon side. I forget exactly what the hell was going on, but you're definitely in space at a certain point in this trailer. It's like, wow, how the fuck did we get to space? And not only that, just the lighting and the choice of color for some of these shots, it is stunning. It is a stunning game from just a world building perspective, from an environment standpoint, but also character models. I've said for 2 years now that Forbidden West, unparalleled, best character models in gaming. Guerrilla, you got a rival. And then the funny thing, being built off the same engine, being built off Decima, that engine is a fucking powerhouse. Another thing I really, really loved is early on in the trailer, you're kind of exploring this ship, which for some reason you're blue. Your characters are goddamn blue. But as your blue people are walking around this ship, you're sort of getting some Metal Gear Solid 2 vibes going on in this ship. You also have a puppet. You get a little puppet that seems to be like a sentient puppet that's not controlled by anybody. You throw a little puppet on your shoulder like a fucking parrot. You got a little puppet parrot. I thought the shooting actually looked much better. I hope that's incorporated more in the game. I know people are like, well, we don't need that. Not every game needs to be shooting nonstop. I get it. Fine. You want your sort of serene, chill experience to just bask in this world that Kojima created, this crazy ass world that Kojima created. But I don't know. I thought the shooting looked look rock solid. You also had that bit where Troy Baker, he has his guitar and then some sort of battle takes place and he ends up hitting some notes and he's shooting motherfuckers with his guitar. This electric vibration of some sort is shooting out and smashing off these different enemies, and then he ends up getting into a sword battle with his guitar. It's absolutely asinine. This looked so cool to the point where I'm thinking about suffering through Death Stranding 1 just to be caught up, because I gotta play this game. I do not like Death Stranding 1 at all. Do not like it at all. But gee willikers, Batman, do I want to play Death Stranding 2. Unfortunately, it's not dropping in 2024. It is slated for 2025, but I think I'm gonna have to be there. I just gotta see some of these world shots in game. But the big holy shit moment, the big mic drop was to close off the show. Kojima joined Herman Holst, and they're standing there, and it's announced that Kojima, he's getting back into the game with the stealth action espionage genre returning. Kojima Productions is developing a new stealth espionage game. I imagine this thing will not release until 2038. And even there was a part where it said like next generation, where there's like, we're going to push next generation technology. And I don't think that they mean PlayStation 5 technology. So we got to assume Death Stranding 2 drops in 2025, could get delayed till 2026. But let's say 2025, it releases, and then the cycle begins again. Also, you have to consider that Overdose is somewhere in that mix, which if it's a smaller game, based on the cloud, let's just assume 2027. So all hands on deck for this new title in 2027, let's say. Death Stranding 1 was 2019. Death Stranding 2 is 2025, and that's building off the back of a sequel. So you already have a lot of those assets, and you have a general understanding for what your game is going to be. Creating a brand new IP, I don't know, man. I wouldn't be surprised if this was mid 2030s. And of course, Kojima's doing all the Kojima stuff, talking about the game's going to blend in between film and game, and it's going to be an interactive adventure, but it's also going to break these different barriers, and it's going to, all the Kojima, the Kojima-isms were on full effect in this little speech. But just the fact that the GOAT is returning to the genre that really solidified him as the GOAT, I'm damn sure on board for whatever the hell this is, whenever the hell we get it. So yeah, overall, not the world's greatest show, not the world's worst show. A couple cool surprises thrown in there. Really, I would say my biggest surprise was the fact that I looked at Death Stranding 2 and actually was like, that looks good enough for me to go play Death Stranding 1. But I would say my key takeaway from this show was that the writing seems to be on the wall in regards to PlayStation's first party problem. There wasn't a single first party studio present for this showcase, for this state of play. And like I said, second, third party, they're filled to the brim for the first, half of 2024, at least the first quarter, without a doubt, of 2024. And you could also say, yeah, well, maybe they got to roll that out. They want to lead up to that, give you the roadmap for the first half of 2024, and then second half of 2024, we get our showcase. But I don't know. I understand wanting to be under that impression or wanting to be optimistic about that, but that last showcase, I don't have a ton of faith left in what their next showcase would look like. It's back to kind of got to prove something a little bit here. And I know some people are like, well, first party, second party, third party, who cares if it's exclusive to the... I get that, but like, my argument never really came from that perspective of not having exclusive content. My argument is, I fucking love Naughty Dog games. I love Sucker Punch games. I love these studios. I want to see these studios. Sony Bend. All these different teams that were like, it's definitely time. These studios haven't released a game in 4 or 5, 6 years in some cases, and I think it's definitely time to start questioning like what exactly is going on here, especially with all the cancellations with the live service games and factions and yada yada yada. And I think it's kind of time to answer some of those questions. So I really am hoping that a late 2024 showcase can do that, and we can sort of have an idea, sort of have a roadmap going into 2025, but first party not looking in the best state right now. But regardless, a lot of cool shit from this state of play that I am eager to check out. And yeah, I didn't think it was really bad at all. Like I said, overall, C+. Appreciate you good people for tuning in. Those are my thoughts on the state of play. Hit me with your thoughts down below. Hit me with your grade. What is your letter grade for this event? A through F range. Let me know where you fall on this state of play. I appreciate you good people for tuning in, and I'll catch you all in the next video. If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. If you're new, liking the video, commenting, all that good stuff helps the algorithm massively. See you guys soon. Goodbye.